So welcome to another conversation for Millionairess magazine and the Millionairess movement. I'm Amanda Jane Clarkson, editor-in-chief, and today I'm delighted to be joined by TV real estate star and mum, Maya Vander, the beautiful Maya Vander.
Hello.
Maya developed a passion for real estate early in life, the different cultures she experienced living in Israel, the Netherlands, Spain, and Singapore before moving to LA and finally South Florida, inspired a deep appreciation for the variety of cultures in her hometown of Miami. In her spare time, this busy mum and mega entrepreneur loves spending time with her family, her babies, cooking, walking her dog, going to the beach, working out, and teaching Pilates. In her role as trusted advisor, skilled negotiator, and tireless client advocate, Maya fuses a calm, highly focused attitude with passion, commitment, and an outgoing personality. And that's what we love about Maya. Welcome to the Millionairess magazine. Maya, we really appreciate you sharing your time today.
Hi. So I said hello earlier because I thought it was a small introduction, but wow, thank you so much for the full intro here. Thank you. Happy to be here.
As women, we often go through life at such a busy, high pace that we forget where we've come from, and all we focus on is what we haven't achieved. And sometimes we don't stop to realize just how much we have done and, where we've come from. Would you agree with that?
100%. I still beat myself every day, and I'm like, I wish I was, doing more. I wish I would close more deals. But then, you know what? I mean, looking back in my career, and you always wanted to do better, but it wasn't too bad especially for my background and everything. So
well, your story has spanned different countries. How did your journey begin to where you are today? Now you're working in two different real estate companies still, correct? Two famous real estate companies. You're a busy mum of two little ones, married life, Pilates instructor. How do you do it all? Share a little bit of your story.
Yeah, so real estate I've been doing for 7 years, actually almost 8. And when we moved to Miami, so I was working in clothing stores in LA, like retail and all that stuff. And then my mom told me, hey, why don't you go study real estate? You're already doing sales. Why don't you sell something bigger and, make more money? So at that time, I went through a breakup. I had a long-term, so many years relationship with someone. Anyway, we broke up after 10 years, and I'm like, you know what? This is my time to focus on me, and I don't care. I don't want to depend on anyone's happiness. I'm just gonna do me right now, and that's it. So I focused on studying for my real estate license, and I got my license, and then I kind of like, okay, now what? But it takes time. It's a process. So that was LA. Now, when we moved to Miami, I was already doing real estate in LA for 5 years. And I'm like, I have to start from scratch, new city, new place. What do I do? And I always like to have a backup. So I decided to take my Pilates certification teaching course, which is actually took forever to get it. In the meantime, I already started selling real estate in Miami. But I got the certification because I want to have a backup, another profession in case, it takes me forever to sell something in Miami. The show was already in the making, but we didn't know if we were going to get picked up and not. And it's been literally 2 years in the making. So I didn't want to count on anything on the show. So got my certification for Pilates, got my license in Miami to sell real estate, and kind of like did both. And then the show got picked up and had to move back to LA technically.
And so you have a love of Pilates. Obviously, you love being fit. You love taking care of your body and your health and well-being. What is it that you love about Pilates and teaching Pilates, even though you are super, super successful as a real estate agent? You still have a love and a passion for health and fitness, don't you?
Yeah, I was actually about to upload something for my Instagram stuff about Pilates because, I love Pilates. It's great. It's a great workout. It helps people with injuries. And people actually, I like real estate when a lot of people don't appreciate me. Clients are crazy, so no matter what you do, you cannot make people happy. I think in Pilates, actually, everybody appreciates you because you're really helping them. You're making them feel good. And I think for me, it was also like a nice balance. Yes, I'm not making a lot of money teaching Pilates, but it's nice to disconnect for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours and teach and just kind of like not be engaged all the time with emails and phone calls and clients who are, whatever, yelling and all that. Pilates, it's a huge satisfaction. Unfortunately, I wasn't teaching much because of the COVID in the last couple of months because, I don't want to be around people who are breathing. Obviously, that's more risky. But hopefully I can resume a little bit of teaching soon. And kind of like do it on my spare time, maybe on the weekends when my husband can be with the babies and just teach 2-3 hours and for my mental state. Yeah.
I was just going to bring that up. We talk about, well, you hear it all the time in LA and America, mental health. We have Mental Health Day. It's getting more and more common for people to talk about mental health, anxiety and depression and the stress of such a busy life, especially, I can't even imagine what it's like being on TV all the time, where every little thing about your life is talked about. How important do you believe it is to still maintain a healthy fitness level, take care of yourself and really focus on calming the mind?
Yeah, so you know what? Thankfully, I don't suffer from any anxiety or depression, thank God. But I know it could be very challenging for a lot of people. And I know a lot of people who suffer from certain anxiety and depression. My way to cope with stress, which, usually my stress is more with real estate stuff, to be honest. Thankfully, my kids, my husband, that's my nice environment. Although I stress, when the kids are crying and all that. But I love to work out. I think like going on a long walk and just take a break and breathe. And I also do meditation. It's like sleep guided meditation. So if I want to like relax for 30 minutes or an hour, even during the day, I just shut my phone. I put meditation to sleep, and it's like literally my massage to my brain. I swear, it's like a sleep. It's a talk meditation, but I think it really helps. And I just do like positive guided meditation and obviously exercising, I think helps too. And a glass of wine at night helps as well.
I'm with you 100%. We have thousands of women that will follow you, will listen to this, watch this conversation that we're having, and that they would love to be, have a business like you or be an entrepreneur like you, be successful like you. And many of them would love to be on TV like you are. How do you manage and juggle such a busy routine? Because I know it's not all one side. It's not all glamorous. You have many days where it's completely opposite. How do you juggle all of that and the mental stress that sometimes goes with that?
I went to my husband. Actually, I'm just dealing right now with 3 frustration transaction, 2 that's supposed to happen, but they're not happening yet. And then 1 client who, I guess not as appreciative, no matter how nice and trying, I try so hard for them, they're still not appreciative. And it is frustrating. And I do get frustrated and I get upset. And, real estate is not easy as we see on Selling Sunset. I wish I was just wearing a nice dress, heels, and that's it, go and sell stuff. It takes longer time. It's a lot of like back and forth. People are canceling on deal. So I do get frustrated. Do I get to a point that I'm depressed? No, thankfully, no. Thankfully, my husband is very supportive, so I went to him. I went to my mom. I talked to my mom a lot. I talked to my brother, to my dad. So I think it's good to have an important, support system. I have good friends who are, willing to listen, and obviously vice versa. I listen to them when they have problems. So I think it's good to have support system, and that's how I deal pretty much with my work situation as far as the stress aspect. I wish it was easy as the show, but it's not.
Yeah, they show you all the glamorous, sexy parts of it, but behind the scenes, I've no doubt that it's many, many, many hours, days, months, sometimes between sales and deals. I've been in sales my whole life as well, and it takes a lot of time and commitment. Now, because you talk about that, you talk about success, right? And two key components is passion and commitment. Or consistency.
And that's 100%. And a lot of the times I do want to give up, and I'm like, what, I'm done with real estate. I don't want people to not appreciate what I'm doing. It's so unstable because it's only commission. If I don't sell, I don't make any money. But I love real estate, and it is my passion. And frankly, if tomorrow I quit real estate, I have no clue what I'm going to do. Sure, I can do the Instagram influence stuff because of the show. That's another like fun thing from the show that I'm totally utilizing, and maybe it will, open doors to other direction for me as far as business opportunities. But I don't think I can completely disconnect from real estate because I do love it, and I've been doing it for a while, and I understand it. Sure, I learn a lot, and every transaction is a learning process, but it is my passion. And I think like if tomorrow I completely will decide to let go of real estate, I will feel that I didn't do enough. So I don't think I'm going to give up on real estate. I think passion is a key, and you have to be consistent and know that, even if you have months of dry period, which is very tough because you can go months without selling, and then now what? You just have to keep going. And it happens to me too, even now with the show. I mean, thankfully I had a couple of decent months, but I'm in Miami now. It's a different price point. I'm not just selling like $4 million houses. I'm selling much more lower price point, but it's okay. To me, every transaction is transaction, and it's a successful one if it closes, and I'm happy. But I also have goals, to tap into the more high end. Sorry, my husband's working in the background.
That's good.
To tap into, he walked out. Your ear thing, so I don't think he heard you. But I have goals as well, and I'm working on branding myself here in Florida right now, and I know it's going to take time and a lot of probably ups and downs on the way, but I'm ready for it. So
this is a really raw and real conversation that I really love, because the women watching this may only see the glamorous side of your life, but you're sharing what's real. And I really appreciate that, because I've no doubt you've had many challenges along your journey of becoming a mum, being an entrepreneur, being a TV reality star. And not being born in America, what are some of the biggest challenges that you've had to personally and professionally overcome?
I think, first of all, my accent, I live in the United States for thank you. But, sometimes in a professional communication, sometimes I struggle with certain words, and obviously the way I write emails. I got it much, much better, but I do always now, my husband is American, so it's nice. And he helps a lot with that too. If I need something, if I need to sound a little bit more professional, at least in writing. So I struggle with that because maybe it can work for to my disadvantage. And also even being a woman, sure, it can help me. At the same times, I feel like not everybody can take me seriously just because I'm a woman, and that's challenge too. And obviously you see it on the show. You don't know if clients are real clients and what their agenda, and I think that's another thing that I struggle. And I think that part of it also that I'm a little bit maybe too I can be rude and direct at time, but generally I'm a nice person and I listen to people, which is a great thing. But I think sometimes clients maybe take more advantage of that and use my kindness, and just kind of like I become more like, I guess, a therapist than a real estate agent.
Oh, yes.
So, which is fine, I've no problem with that, but as long as they buy, otherwise I'm wasting my time here.
Well, they see you as a trusted advisor and a friend, because sometimes you're working with these people for months at a time to bring a deal together, I've no doubt. And so they begin to download stuff to you, which is another thing I want to talk about, relationships. As an entrepreneurial woman, carving your pathway in what could be perceived as mainly a man's world, how important building and focusing on relationships and communication, how important has that been for you?
It's very important. Communication, I think, is a skill that you want to have as someone who is, in the business. And I've been using it with all my clients, frankly. And what was that one? Communication. And what was the other one?
Just building those long-term relationships, because I guess between sales, it can be months, not days, not weeks, but
right.
months, right? They'll go away and they might come back. building that long-term relationship where they feel that they can download to you, you become kind of like a trusted friend.
Right. And I'm very honest with my clients. I don't try to push a sell on anyone, to be honest. Maybe sometimes I should be more pushy, more aggressive like Jason. But, I don't want to force my clients to buy something or to sell it unless they're comfortable. So I think they develop some kind of like trust with me. And, I think I'm pleasant to work with. I'm very responsive. They can get, if they want to talk to me on Sunday at 10 p.m., I'll be there and talk to them at Sunday at 10 p.m., even with kids and all that. So I think that's very valuable for real estate and frankly for any business maybe. I think sometimes you could maybe draw some lines because at some point, I do have kids and a husband and I need to dedicate their time as well, time to them. But, I am just always available for my client and I try to stay in touch with people, but I don't want to also like bug people either. I'm like, you know what, when you're ready, contact me, which is kind of like, in a way, maybe I should again be more aggressive, but if they come around and they remember me and they like me, then great. And obviously now with the show, that definitely helps.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
So a woman that's watching this and she would love to be, I mean, I love real estate. I used to be in commercial real estate many years ago.
That's great.
Many years ago. And I know what it can be like. It can be tough, right? But for a woman watching this who would love to jump into real estate because they sometimes see the one side, the glamorous side, what would be, say, 3 things that you could share from your experience for someone that would love to take the plunge?
In a way, I'm very independent and I just went on my own, but maybe working with a top agent in the beginning, someone that you can kind of shadow, and someone that maybe will be too busy and maybe will give you even a couple of clients. So you learn the business through that person, but then you also get some client from him maybe, because it's hard. I mean, unless you spend a lot of money on marketing or you've been in the business for 20 years or you have huge connection and network, it's really hard for an agent. So I think if I would work with some top agent in the beginning or maybe even a paid assistant job, maybe I would be even more successful, in LA, or at least in LA. And then, so working with someone who is very, successful, I think that's a plus. You network a lot, obviously. Like I think networking is important. Now I know it's a bit tough with COVID, but because nobody's like want you to get close to them. But I think generally networking, it's a great way to meet people and just hustle, like do open houses every Sunday, which are in residential, we do open houses. In commercial, I would just say network because you don't do open houses, which is a nice thing actually about commercial. But and then what else? So yeah, networking, find a way to meet people, maybe join a group, like that which you can get organic leads, mom group, whatever, dog group, whichever way, to kind of like break the ice with people and be kind of like, oh, by the way, I'm in real estate. Because I used to just meet people, I'm like, I'm in real estate, and I was very aggressive, and it doesn't always work because people need to develop some kind of like relationship with you until they get comfortable. But I think working for a top agent is my biggest advice. Otherwise it's really tough unless you have huge network and you can utilize your connection and just start immediately.
Oh, that's really awesome advice. And so, in the old way of doing business, a lot of people think about competition. What do you feel about collaboration or cooperation where you could do teamwork? I mean, is that something that's realistic in the work that you do or not necessarily? That's different than a mentor kind of thing. But co-op, collab. What do you think about that in today's market?
Yeah, like let's say you're talking about for potential for like listing and you co-list and stuff like that. 100%.
Competition, most people see everybody as competition, but I'd rather link up with someone.
Collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was never against let's say co-listing with another agent if I need to. If I feel like I'm not familiar enough with Miami and I might lose a listing over that, I will probably approach a top agent. I'm like, hey, would you want to co-list with me? I'd rather get less commission than zero commission. So I'm all for collaboration.
Yeah.
Even if you need to share a buyer. I mean, sharing buyer, it's a little bit like weird, but I think it's different, but for listing, for sure, I'm all for co-listing if you can get the listing on your own. And I think that's part of all of us girls in the beginning joining Jason, because Jason is a closer and he's very professional and he knows the business. And for someone like me, when I joined Jason, I was only 3 years in the business, and it's not enough. So if I say, oh, I work with the Open Group and Jason, and I bring him to a listing appointment, that helps. So I'm all about, like, to your point, I'm all about collaboration. Sure, competition is healthy, but if you cannot get the deal because you compete, then make a collaboration with someone for sure.
Yeah. You touched on just a moment ago, mentorship. Being around, I've spent my whole life around mentors, and I understand the value of them. How has it shaped your success and your life, shadowing a mentor, learning from somebody who's paved the way?
Yeah, I actually joined my first company. I joined someone that was in real estate for a couple of years, and I was driving with him every day, and we like look at listings and worked with buyer. And he actually gave me the first my first buyer. So it was good to learn from him a little bit the ins and out. And then I did coaching. So I signed up for coaching, and I love the coaching program. At the time it was a bit expensive for me as well, so I did what I could do. But I felt like it's just, it motivates you, and it's hard to stay on track and to have your own accountabilities. So I think mentor or coaching can be very helpful because they can drive you. And even still now, I'm getting like the coaching program that I did back then, and I get the email blast from them like, maybe I should join again. Even me, with the show and everything, because I'm like, sometimes I need that too. So I think it's good to have some kind of like mentorship. And actually, people always ask me if I'm doing any mentorship, but I'm like, I don't think I'm ready to do mentorship because I still want to have mentor myself. So I don't think I'm there yet.
Of course you
Even
are.
with Selling Sunset.
Of course you are. I think, the fastest way to learn is teach what you know. Teach what you learn
I,
straight away.
I know, it's true, but yeah, we'll see. Maybe one day. I do Zoom. I do Zoom. Actually, I'm going to do one on Friday, which is a 12 people thing, and we talk about real estate. And people ask me for questions and advice, and I answer the questions, and I guide them like what I think works, what I don't work. So I do that kind of like Zoom stuff with people, but yeah.
People want to learn from those who have been there before them, save them years of frustration and heartache, right?
Exactly. And trust me, like I'm still having the headaches and frustration. I think really changed. I'm telling you, I feel like only Jason gets it easy. I don't know if it's because he's a guy and he's not the nicest to the client. I don't know what it is. I gotta learn from Jason. I gotta spend more time at the office.
That's a good thing. And I think women, we're so hard on ourselves, and we can be really hard on each other, and we're very emotional. How hard is it to keep your emotions in check, especially being on a TV screen all the time? And I bet you can feel the energy, and it's sometimes hard to zip your mouth. How do you
I
cope with all
know. I wouldn't say I'm also like, I'm very like realistic and very like focused. So I'm not getting too emotional. I think depends what day you ask. If it's before I get my period, then maybe I'm a bit more hormonal and emotional. I notice actually the hormone change. It's crazy. But generally, I'm not like the one who's like going to lose it in tears unless someone really hurt me. Being on the show, you're obviously exposed, and you do get mean comments on social media. I try to not read all the comments, especially if they're mean. And if they are too mean, I'm just maybe going to reply and say something. But thankfully with the show, I got it kind of like lucky. I don't get too much hate, but it's been tough. And, obviously working with all the girls at the office when we film and with Jason, we had moments. Yeah, but I try to not lose it too much.
How do you handle perceived disappointment or setbacks, or what some might say failure? You might have lost a sale to somebody else or lost a listing. How do you cope with that? Well, let's talk about the process, because women really love to know, because sometimes women won't go into business because they're frightened of the setbacks that are going to happen in life, right?
And it still happened. I still lose buyers. I still lose listings. It
Yep.
happened to me all the time, even with the success and with the show. And it is frustrating. And I'm like, you know what? I know what I'm worth. I know that I can be, I'm a good person. I'm a good agent. And you know what? I'm a good mother. I'm a good wife. And that's probably the most important thing. So if I lost a buyer, it sucks. I'll probably be upset about it. And I'll think about it a couple of weeks and maybe months. It's still going to kind of like linger in my head. But this is the business, at least in real estate, and I'm sure in every sales, you kind of have to just move on because you know what? I always say you lose some, you win some.
Yeah.
I just took a listing, a small listing, but the seller actually had a different buyer agent. So anyway, the seller bought it to my place with another agent, but they give me the listing back and not to him. So he was like, he called me, he's like, you know why they gave it to you, not to me? Like, did I do something wrong? So I totally get how people feel. And like I said, I want that one, but then I lost others. It happens in business. It sucks. It still bothers me sometimes with clients, but I have to I have to move on and just keep plugging and keep trying and try and something, something else will happen.
So
So
look forward instead of
yeah,
back, instead of back.
yeah. Look forward and believe in yourself and believe in your worth. And trust me, like sometimes I know it's easier said than done, but that's usually the attitude I'm trying to develop. I'm like, I just have to move forward. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, oh well, but I'll move forward.
That's good wisdom. Believe in yourself, girls, and believe in your worth, because if you don't value yourself, others won't value you. Would you agree with that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%, 100%.
Yeah. I've seen you, you've talked about work-life balance. I mean, is there any such thing?
It's
I'm an
not.
entrepreneur. So what do you do? And what does that mean for you, work-life balance?
It's hard, So my work-life balance is
Yeah.
just, have a passion and do something, and not just for me, be a mom. I have friends that they just want to be a mom, and that's great because that's what they really want to do. I feel like my passion is being a mom, but also being someone who can come home and talk about, whatever work and for even if it's frustration, like. So I try to, so look, my son is now going to daycare at least half day, so that helps a little bit. We just hired a part-time nanny, so she comes 3 days a week for a few hours. So those hours allow me to, to do emails, to check inventory on the MLS, to do a showing if I need to go do inspection, if I need to do something on Instagram for influencer stuff. Those hours will allow me to do that stuff. And when the baby goes to bed at 7:30, then I can still do a little bit more work. And then maybe around 9 o'clock or 10, I'll just be with my husband, have a glass of wine and go to bed by 10:30. But it's tough. I think it's tough to just have it all. And even when my son comes from daycare and my daughter is here with no nanny, I don't always pay them 100% attention if I have deal going on. So I do feel guilty that I probably should be sitting and playing with him more and reading more books to him. It's very tough. I have a good way to decide what is a priority today. So if I have a hot clients, this is my priority. That's my focus for today, but I can't do 10 things every day all the time because I also have kids, I have a husband, I cook. I mean, I just like, so there is a lot of it's not perfect. I think it's hard to have it all, to be honest, unless you have a full-time nanny and then you can focus on your career, but then you're not a mom. So it's like, it's tough.
I agree with you. I've been in business nearly my whole life, lots of different businesses. It's hard because you're trying to be everything for everyone. And sometimes,
Yeah.
would you agree, or you probably experience this, you lose yourself, you lose your femininity. Sometimes you wake up and you go, who am I? Have you ever felt like that?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even have time to get my nails done. They all chopped, and I'm like, what the heck? Speaking of losing femininity, and my hair, I'm like, I feel like I look like a housewife. But sometimes I would love to just like shut the phone and go for one day to the beach and just
Yes.
not think about anything. That's
Yes.
why I do the meditation. 1 hour is at least something.
It's so worth the investment because a lot of women let themselves go in life and business, because they're so focused on an outcome. But how important would you say it is to still take care of self or practice self-love?
So it's very important. Look, I mean, I still make sure to get my nails done and my nails and hair and all that. So I do it.
You do.
I do go get massages. I love massages. Obviously with COVID, like I cut down acupuncture and all these, like, body contact and massages. Unfortunately, I just start going. Hopefully I don't know gonna get COVID from that. But what can you do, right? It's been a year almost. But I love to get massages. I love to get my nails and hair done. I still want to be pretty for my husband, and for myself actually. And I still need to work out and lose more weight because I'm still, 8-9 pounds of, carry the baby weight. I'm not as toned. I'm trying to find time for that as well, because it is important. And I think when you feel good about yourself, it's the energy that you kind of like create. So if I feel like I look like a housewife, I'm probably like, my energy is not as perfect. So I think it's very important.
And I think when you feel good about yourself, it helps in all the other areas of your life.
100%, yeah.
I love this conversation, Maya, because it's, like I said a moment ago, it's really real and raw. And, for women watching this, they can see that there's a real person behind all the glitz and glamour. And that's what is really inspiring, that, like every woman, including me, up days, down days, and everything in between days. But I want to ask you another question, if I may. I want to talk about goal setting. Now, people just throw that around this time of year. Next year is going to be different. Next year I'm going to do this, that. Do you goal set? Do you have dreams? If so, what does it look like for you? Do you plan? Do you have a journal? Share a little bit of insight about that.
So I haven't done in a while goal setting, and let me tell you, I should, because I was single 6 years ago, and I had my vision board, which I mentioned on the show I think twice. But on my vision board, I was very specific, and also I noticed that when I write things down and I look at them, and I write numbers, it kind of like manifests to a reality. Like, let's say if I had goals of sales and numbers, it did happen. If I had a for sale by owner that I'm going to call this guy and I'm going to get this listing, because I really focus hard on getting that for sale by owner listing, and I got it. So my vision board, when I was single, I was very specific with my husband's description, like the guy that I want to be with and this profession and where is he going to be from. And I literally, like, every detail that I wrote on that vision board for my husband, for my man, actually it's my husband. So it really did help me. And I put like a bunch of, pictures and all that stuff. And I think it's really important. And you know what? I'm going to do it too. I'm going to set goals for myself, professional and personal as well. I think it's important to look at things and remember. And people say it's cliche and it's nonsense, but I do believe that if you really put your mind into things and you really strongly believe in stuff, it will happen. It was one client that I was working with him, and it was a house that we saw. From the moment I went to the house, I'm like, this house meant for my client. But the house was actually already under contract with a different buyer. And that buyer backed out and we got the house. But the whole time I knew that this is just going to be the house no matter what. And I didn't care it was even under contract. It's just little things like that it shows you that you should put your mind into it. And you know what? I need to practice that myself too all the time, because it's very easy to like get discouraged and let go. I think you just have to really work out on your mindset. And I always say it when I talk to whatever the Zoom stuff that I'm doing. I think mindset is important and goal setting is important. You have to write down a list of expectation and what you want to achieve. And, people say, write unrealistic goals. I say you can write like maybe more realistic goals that you think you can achieve, but maybe a little bit even more, just to kind of like aim for higher.
Yeah, and you touched on something before, not only writing down your goals, but prioritizing, because people don't prioritize their day or their time, and everything interrupts them and they wonder why nothing happens. But you touched on it before. Prioritizing is incredibly important. You prioritize time with your children, your fitness, your clients. Would you say that prioritizing important things has been part of your success?
Yeah, because every day I know like, okay, tomorrow, and I have like, I'm very old school. I gotta show you. I have like my calendar here. I write things. I always write. I'm not that person who put stuff in here. I like to write.
I've
I
got
like
the
to open and
diary.
yeah. So I like to write, and I don't write like like novels. Just like okay, whatever. Today I'm gonna for instance, I have like I'm on this app that do shout outs for people, and let's say I have 5 of them that are pending. Like, today I'm gonna do them. Then I'm gonna hit those 2 clients that I know they need to get stuff done. Then when my baby's taking a nap, I'm gonna do 30 minutes of quick workout. Like I know what I want to do for my day. Sometimes I get distracted for sure, because with real estate, you get emails, you get texts, it can get distracted at times. I'm studying for my broker's license, so I need to prioritize finding time to study for that. So it's a lot. But every day I feel like, okay, what is important for me today? What absolutely I want to get done today? And I think that helps to kind of like put the schedule a little bit.
I do exactly the same thing. And from my experience, I've done it since I was 30 and I'm in my 50s now, that if I focus on my own priorities, it helps stop comparing myself with other people, and staying laser focused. And from your
Yeah.
person, I'm picking up from you words like, ladies, write this down: commitment, discipline, prioritizing, self-love, all the things that really make up a fulfilled life or a life on purpose.
Yeah, and you know what? Like sometimes I'm like, my purpose, I feel like my fulfillment is sometimes just like how many deals I'm closing and real estate stuff, because I'm very passionate about real estate. But then I have to think, like father, I'm like, you know what? Let me think. Like I have a very happy, thankfully, and great marriage. I think that's something that I should already be fulfilled about. And I have great kids that obviously I was struggling in first to get pregnant. So that's more important than anything.
Yeah.
And I have healthy mother and healthy dad and brother. So those, first of all, health is the most important thing. And we just never think about it because we're healthy. But that's something that we all need to step aside and say, you know what, as long as you have your health, then everything else is honestly will come in place. So we have to sometimes not beat ourselves over about like whatever work and all that, because there are other ways to find some kind of like fulfillment.
It's so important. And you touched on something too that some people don't believe in, but I'm with you 100% that mindset is everything. It's everything that I like to talk about. I've studied it for years and years. And it's,
Really, that's interesting.
for over 30 years, human behavior and understanding about how we think, because thoughts become things, writing things down. I'm a really big believer in all that, the law of the universe and things like that. And I love
The
that.
secret.
Yeah, and deep, like really understanding it, but living it as well. Journaling things. Gratitude, does that play a part in your daily thought process? And what would you say about the importance of gratitude?
I think you always have to have gratitude and be thankful for things that you have in life instead of focusing on things that you don't have. And I think it's important to work on that. And I need to work on that. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me express gratitude for a great husband and a great family, and me being lucky on a Netflix show and whatever other opportunities I get from the show besides real estate, because not everybody can be on a Netflix show, and how they even I ended up in here.
It's
So I think
amazing.
it's amazing. So I think that's what I need to be thankful for, and thankful that I like real estate and I know real estate, and I found my passion with that and with Pilates. I think it's important, and I need to do more of that for sure.
Oh, you took the words out of your own mouth. You can't be too hard on yourself. And I think this is one thing for women that I say, write down the things that you have achieved too. That's really a big thing. Certainly I'm guilty of it, looking into the future, but not realizing how much has been done to get to where we are. Do you believe it's an important practice to self-analyze and actually acknowledge what you've created? Look what you've created, acknowledge it.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's important, and we all, you know what, the life is so busy, right? With work, we're always running, we're always doing things, and that's one thing that I actually like a little bit with, not like, obviously, I would never would want to have the quarantine and all that, but it also like teaches me to just sit back and relax for whatever. When we first started, the whole shutdown was March, something around that time, right before I gave birth. Um, is just sit back and relax and maybe do nothing. It's okay sometimes, and just enjoy the peace of mind that you have, and not like always chase and run around, because we always beat ourselves, and we always like after something, instead of just like take a step back and and be okay with what you've done, and it's okay to just do nothing, and then appreciate what you already have in life. And
Yeah.
I think that was, I mean, I spent so much time with my husband and my son, and then my daughter, because I gave birth in May. But just being with the family and not running around to showings and doing this and running around with real estate. And so just being home with the family and be thankful for that.
You're a
It's okay
wise
too.
woman. You're a very wise for a young woman.
I mean, not that young, but I'll take the 32 again. I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm not
I
fighting
like
this.
that. I like that. We'll leave that one as it is, hey?
Exactly.
Maya, what do you love most about your personal and professional life?
So my personal life, my husband, I think he's great. He's a great guy. Unfortunately, he's not on the show because he's in finance, and his job, it's kind of like with reality show, maybe not align. He's a great husband, very, very supportive. Obviously my kids are adorable, and obviously I'm biased, but they are adorable.
Yeah.
And I have a great mom and a great dad and a great brother, and I'm very close to my family. So I'm very lucky to have a great family and support system, and I have amazing friends, and childhood friends, and I stay in touch with people that, I know since I was 6 years old. So I'm very lucky and thankful for that. My professional life, the fact that like with my accent, and my English is, I wouldn't say broken, but sometimes I can sound like Borat. That I can, that I've done decent deals, and sure, maybe not all of them are 5 and 6 and 7 million, but every deal is a deal, and I help people, and they go through emotional process of buying and selling, and they chose me to be there with them. For the one who didn't choose me to be there, then fuck off. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You're funny.
I'm kidding. But so I'm kidding, but not kidding. But
I know you're not kidding.
no, but it's like I'm very lucky that I managed to have a professional career like real estate, and I think it's a great business to be in, and also it allowed me to not be under someone's schedule from 9 to 5. It's my schedule. I set my own schedule. So I'm lucky for that, for my professional life. And I think I have a lot of higher goals, which I need to really write those down
You
before
do.
2021.
You let me know when you've written them down.
I will. I mean, you should have seen my vision board with my description of my husband. It was like literally one. He has like brown hair, at least has to be 6.2, has to do either finance or real estate, needs to be from either Boston or Chicago, literally everything. It was just check. So it's very, yeah, it's impressive actually that I was very specific.
I've done it many times myself, and the more specific, the sooner it comes to you as well. It's incredible. I do it with all of my goals and dreams, specific dates, and right down to money with, if I'm in sales and things like that.
Maybe you need to mentor me.
I love it.
We need to call you after the show.
Yeah, I'm right into it. And it's just the power of the universe. It's just all energy. It's just the way energy moves. And
it is energy.
Really powerful, really powerful. I love your feistiness. You're a bit like me, straight to the point woman. I like it.
That's funny.
I've got one final professional question for you. Maya, what specifically would you love to be known and remembered for?
I think that I'm a hustler, that I hustle. I work really hard. I don't get listings from Jason. I work really hard. So I want people to know that I'm a hustler, and I'm professional, and I'm honest. I think honesty, because I'm very honest. I don't bullshit people and clients. So I think that's important for people to know.
It's a beautiful trait, or a couple of beautiful traits there. And so you don't get the listings given to you. You go out and fetch for yourself.
Yeah, but in all fairness, like real estate, nobody gives you anything, right? So you have to really hustle and get your own clients. And if Jason is too busy and he wants to give me listing, but granted, I'm not even in LA right now, then that would be great and helpful. It's kind of like nice for the momentum, but nobody expect him to do that. So
But it's easy to look at you and know without a doubt that you don't need help. You've got it. And so he probably looks at you thinking this woman is success anyway, so she doesn't need any handouts. That's the way I see it.
that's a good way to look at it. It's funny. I don't know if you watched the Selling Sunset. We had a tarot lady. She was reading the cards in one of the scene,
I just
and she
watched
put
it a minute ago.
the tarot lady. Oh my gosh, you see? So if you saw, I mean, so she said about me, she's like, oh, and the conversation was longer, but they had to edit it for whatever few seconds to each. She's like, oh, you get stuff done. She's like, I don't worry about you because nothing can phase you. You just figure things out and you get it done. And you know what? It's so true because I struggle a lot of time in life, and especially also in the United States. And before I did real estate, I had pretty rough times, but I always got things done and I always managed. So it's just, I don't know if it's my personality growing up in Israel, and you kind of like always like have the strong personality and nothing is for granted and all that. And I didn't grow up, with money. So I always like kind of like figure things on my own. And that's what the tarot lady was saying.
Yeah,
Um,
we've got a lot in common. I was out of home at 16. One of 5 kids. We didn't have anything given to us. I had to figure it all out since I was
yeah.
16. And I think it helps you grow up. And the thing that I see from sitting where I sit, when people look at you, you don't come across as helpless or needing help, and that's a beautiful quality. You've got it in spades. And I think that's a real positive, that people look at you and they just know that you're going to get it done. You're consistent, you're persistent, you're full of passion, you're straight shooter. I think they're all great traits and qualities.
Keep on. I'm kidding. Yeah, it's and it's not always perfect, but I think I do get stuff done. And even though I went through a rough time when I barely had any money left in my bank account, seriously, like I always had a backup, always figure things out. And I just, try to lift my head and move on and get stuff going. So it's a good thing to have in business for sure. And
But
in life.
any woman watching this, and there'll be thousands, there's no excuses with you. You've come from you've traveled since you left home I don't know how old you were when you left home, but again,
20.
and you've lived in different countries, different languages. But real estate is one of the hardest businesses to get into because you're self-reliant. There's no excuses, and that's why you'll be a great mentor, because you've done the hard yards. You've lived it.
Yeah, and when I started real estate, again, like it's commission. So I had like I had 2 or 3 jobs. Like I had other jobs. So because I didn't want to be with $1 in my bank account. I hate that feeling. And I came to that, stage many times in my life. So I'm like, I didn't want to have with $1 and then be stressed to sell stuff. So I always had a backup. And that's exactly why the reason I took my Pilates certification.
I love that.
Even though I'm with my husband, I just can't stand that feeling of having no money and just counting on my husband. So I always like to have something. I feel like fulfillment working and making my own, even though I'm married and I'm not going to be on the street, but still, it's just a feeling that.
I like to talk about financial independence a lot with women, because I think it's something that we don't talk about enough, even though we should, because it's certainly, women need to understand money. They need to know how to make their own money and stand alone, with or without a partner. You still want to feel that you're self-sufficient, don't you?
Yeah, because if tomorrow the guy leaves, I mean, granted, if you're married, maybe you can get a little bit like, whatever settlement. But let's say, but that all only lasts for that long, unless you're really married wealthy and you have kids and it's good. But the bottom line is also, let's say if you are not in a relationship and the guy walk away, then what? What do you do with yourself? What do you do with your life? Do you know what to do? Do you have a backup? How do you how are you going to survive? I mean, I think every woman should have some kind of like passion and something to do. It doesn't have to be full-time crazy career, but something.
Yeah. And it certainly brings confidence, creates friendships, elevates your self-worth, doesn't it?
100%. And I think it's, if you go and you in the relationship, I think it's also very healthy that you have your own thing. You can talk about your own thing and your work, and it's not as boring, and you're not being taken for granted.
I agree. I've been in business with my husband for maybe 20 years, but we still have different interests, but one main dream, different goals along the way. And it just makes great conversation.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Maya, I have really enjoyed this conversation today. I know it's late for you. The babies are still asleep.
Thankfully, it's 8 p.m. Hopefully they will sleep until 6, 7 a.m. That would be amazing. I was starting to have like a bunch of messages here. I have like a bunch of emails. I'm like, now it's my time to get back to that. But, and hopefully have some nice 1 hour with my husband and watch some TV.
That will be beautiful. Thank you for being part of the magazine and the Millionairess movement. Your story is integral to helping other women and even younger ladies, young girls, create a life that they truly love living. And I really appreciate your time tonight, I should say. It's today for me, tonight for you.
Yeah, where are you, by the way?
I'm in Australia, called Queensland.
Oh, wow. All the way in
Queensland?
Australia. Yeah. By the way, Australia is big with selling sunset too. We have a lot of fans from Australia.
Oh, I can imagine. We love
I mean, I
our...
heard your accent. I just wasn't sure where you are.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time in LA and Florida. A lot,
Oh,
four
wow.
times a year we come over, but not since COVID. I'm missing it, but at
Yeah.
least we've got this, right? At least we're together here on Zoom and we've had a great time.
Right.
And it's lovely to have met you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you so much, Amanda. And looking forward maybe for the next conversation, maybe after season 4, if we get season 4.
I'm sure you will. You take care and have a beautiful Christmas with your family and your friends.
Same to you. Same to you. And Happy New Year. Happy holidays.
Yeah, you too, gorgeous.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.